The 42nd annual Terry Fox Run was held yesterday at Bud Miller Park, and residents from all over came out to participate in support of cancer research. With this year's run being back in person, many people were in attendance, and our Shelby Clark has all the details on how the run went.
Firefighters, students, families, and local residents all came out and supported this year's Terry Fox Run. The nice weather was a welcoming hug for everyone as this year's event was able to be back in person. The Lloydminster Firefighters Association was delighted to have a group come out for the run and help raise money as well. They even plan to double the amount raised for next year's annual run.
You know, in the fire service, it is an endemic issue, cancer. Every time we go out and we do like a training opportunity with other departments, or if we go to conferences, we always hear stories from other departments that their members have been touched by cancer. So events like this are incredibly important to us because we do have a vested interest in cancer research.
Many participants in the Terry Fox Run have been affected by cancer or have a loved one fighting the disease. The support was strong from members in the community for wanting to raise funds towards cancer research.
I have an auntie and an uncle who both had cancer. I'm running for my auntie and my mom's running for my uncle.
The Terry Fox Run is an important event for most in the community, especially for those who have already lost loved ones to cancer. Families are even getting strong support from others online when coming out to participate in the run.
I'm with my family. We lost my brother 4 years ago, and it's for Benson's dad, so we're Team Daddy 2020, so it's for me and my two kids, Uncle Nick, and my mom and dad, and his wife Chantal.
Between online donations and in-person donations, the amount raised was over $9,800, showing how successful this year's Terry Fox Run truly went. Shelby Clark, Primetime Local News.
Lloydminster City Council is working on its municipal development plan, a plan that influences the future of the city. Here's our Sarah Baker with more.
For Council, it is important to update the MDP because it has been a while since it was last updated.
Keeping up with the times, making sure we're ready for growth, making sure we're keeping up with everything we need to keep up with. The MDP is coming up, and there'll be some community engagement opportunities. So look to the city's website and social channels and so on and so forth to look and see how you can be engaged.
The MDP also ranks plans in terms of order. One of the plans Council is continuing to look at is the Northeast Area Structure Plan.
What we're seeing is that there is significant interest in particular for use of that Northeast section for industrial use as opposed to commercial. And it makes good sense. And we're seeing our neighbors to the east are, thinking the same way as well. And so it really is an alignment between jurisdictions as well as recognizing, where, what the interest and what's driving development within the city.
Community involvement is very important for Council in regards to the MDP.
We really encourage people to come out and get involved in this because this talks about roads and buildings and where we want to see things and what our city might look like in 25 years. And I think that's what's very, very important. We ask citizens and businesses to get involved in.
For community members who want to learn more and contribute to the discussion, there will be an open house at the public library on the 22nd from 4:30 to 6. Sarah Baker, Primetime Local News.
It was a little bit of a gloomy day today and a little windy, but hopefully that improves throughout the rest of the week. Let's check in with Shelby Clark to see if that's going to happen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jason Mackey. Yes, we have seen, unfortunately, a pretty gloomy start to the week. Here in the border city, we are just seeing, we didn't see too much sun throughout the day, seeing a lot more cloudy or overcast throughout it. And of course, we are seeing that precipitation starting up, but it should be wrapping up around 8 p.m. right after sunset there. So hopefully it will be wrapping up pretty soon, but just be prepared because we are already seeing that slight bit of drizzle happening outside. So definitely not starting off too warm for the week, but of course, course, as we are heading more into the fall season, it's kind of expected. Switching now to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan. On the Alberta side, they are following suit with those temperatures. Most spots just seeing around 11 degrees. 12 degrees up in Marwayne and Cold Lake, and especially over in Vegreville. Vermilion is seeing the warmest compared just at that 13, and down in Provost, they have just reached 10. So Provost is looking slightly cooler compared to the rest. Switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are looking a little bit more warmed up compared to our Alberta side. Most spots just seeing around 15 degrees over on this end, so they are looking slightly warmer. 12 degrees in Maidstone and Pearson, matching with us here in the border city. Macklin is seeing the coolest as well with that 11, and it is 13 over in St. Walburg, and down in North Battleford, they are seeing the warmest conditions with that 16. And for North Battleford, they will be going down to a low of 6 for their evening low temperature. So we are, of course, still seeing those single-digit temperatures making their way here in the border city and the surrounding areas. They will be seeing that drizzle kind of continue on throughout the night. Then tomorrow they will be cooling down a bit to 13 throughout the day, seeing a mixture of some sun and cloud. Cold Lake will be going down to a low of 7 for their evening low temperature. They will be seeing that precipitation kind of continue throughout the evening, and then they will be seeing that 13 tomorrow. So even warming up slightly tomorrow and seeing a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. And for us here in the border city, we will be expecting a cooler night, a low of 6, and expecting that, like we were saying, precipitation to continue through the evening, hopefully wrap up by 8 p.m. Then tomorrow we'll be seeing that start up, seeing 12 throughout the day and seeing a mixture of some sun and clouds. So just be prepared. We got some wet days coming ahead here in the border city. And ending off with taking a look at one of your beautiful weather photo submissions. Once again, thank you to everyone that submitted for our fishing contest last week. We will be picking some winners, 5 winners this week, so just stay tuned. Thank you to Valerie for this awesome shot. That's all I have for now. We'll have more coming up after the break.
The Alberta Junior Hockey League season is underway, and the Lloydminster Bobcats had an exciting 2-game home series against the Whitecourt Wolverines. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
Saturday was an exciting game, with the Bobcats taking an early 3-1 lead in the first period, but the Wolverines battled back and tied it up at 4-4. The game went to overtime, but that still solved nothing. This game went to the shootout. And finally, rookie Ben Aucoin broke the tie with a shootout goal, and Freddie Halak shut down the final shooter for the Wolverines to get another win for the Bobcats. Aucoin also scored his first AJHL goal along with the shootout winner on Saturday.
I'm new here, so it's nice to get into the game and help the guys out. I'm always trying to get on the point sheet, and it was nice to do that. It feels great.
With their 4-3 overtime win on Friday, the Bobcats sit currently at the top of the North Division. The player of the game, Matthew Swanson, was really pleased with the outcome on the weekend.
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, we had a good camp, good preseason, and yeah, coming into this weekend, 2 games at home, can't ask for much more than 4 points.
It certainly didn't come easy for the Bobcats, but they did get the 2 W's over the weekend. Their next game will be against the Sherwood Park Crusaders on Tuesday. Thomas Wildman, Primetime, Local News.
Now, there's no question it's been a rocky season for the Edmonton Elks, being 4-10 now. However, after last Friday's win against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the Elks still have a shot at postseason action.
Snap is good, ball is down, kick is up, and he got it for the lead.
Sergio Castillo's 48-yard strike was enough to give the Elks a crucial 26-24 victory, and more importantly, keep their playoff hopes alive. Should the Rough Riders win only one of their remaining 4 games, the Elks would need to win all of their remaining games on the season. Their next game takes place on Saturday, October 1st, at home against the Montreal Alouettes. We're joined today on Primetime Local News with Zooey and Raf Saeed, local residents here from Lloydminster. And we're talking about the Queen. Obviously, Her late Majesty passed away, and both of you guys have a personal and family connection, not only to this monarch, but the Crown in general. So I guess we'll kind of start there, and I'll get both of you to share a little bit about your family connection to the British Crown.
My grandfather, Sir Muhammad Habibullah, was a very well-known person in India. He had his reputation was huge, but he was asked and appointed by King George V to be on what they called then the Viceroy's Executive Council of India, meaning that the empire, of course, ruled India. And my grandfather was one of 7 people and 2 of them were Indian people. So he was one of 2 Indians who was on this Viceroy's Executive Council that ruled all of India. For
7 people ruled India.
Yeah, for several years.
And only 2 of them were actually Indian.
from
Indian
India.
origin.
Yeah. So we've grown up knowing that my grandfather was Sir Muhammad Habibullah. He was knighted by King George V, and then again given a higher honor than that knighthood, given an honor of the for India, the Star of India, was also given the Knight's Bachelor, given to very exalted people. Not very many people got this. So growing up with with the memory or the knowledge of my grandfather has been quite humbling. He went on after he finished at the Viceroy's Executive Council to be Prime Minister, Chief Minister in one of the kingdoms in southern India. And we've actually had an opportunity to meet that royal family as well.
That's incredible. Raf, I understand too, your mother was able to meet Queen Elizabeth II.
My mother was on the Board of Governors of a university, and she was there, the Queen was there, Her Majesty, the late Majesty was there in 1961 for the commemoration of the university's 125th anniversary. And my mother was the only woman on the Board of Governors. So the Queen met my mother and actually had a little interaction and says, "Are you the only woman on this board?" Because there was 12 men. And my mother said yes, and she says, tells my mother, and there's a picture to show that it was quite surprising that there was only one woman. And that was way back in 61.
And now fast forward a number of years, you two had the opportunity to meet Queen Elizabeth II, but I'll let you kind of get into that because I understand you got a call from the Prime Minister's office. I believe it was Prime Minister Mulrooney at the time, but you didn't almost believe it, right?
No, I thought it was a prank call. It came at 9:15 or so in the morning, and they invited us to Calgary to a reception at the Jackson Music Hall, which the Queen would be in attendance for. And so I asked for a couple of minutes, like I need some time to make this decision. So, and then I called Rafat, and he was very involved in the Deputy Prime Minister's and our constituency.
Mr. Mazinkowski.
Yes.
And so I called his office. They confirmed with the Prime Minister's office that yes, we were on the guest list, and they got back to us. And somebody from the Prime Minister's office called us, and I happened to mention to them that we have some history that the Queen would be interested in knowing. So
because when they invited you to meet the Queen, it wasn't because they knew this family history, it was just your community involvement. So you were able to share the backstory with the Prime Minister's office.
Exactly. Right? So then I said the Queen we have a history to share with the Queen. And they said, what would that? So I explained exactly what Zui had told you earlier, and my history, my mother's history, and they said, we'll get back to you. And I remember I was doing my hospital rounds in the morning. We got a call back within 15 minutes saying, the palace says the Queen would like to meet you, and we'll make arrangements for you to meet the Queen, have a separate meeting at the hall, the concert hall.
Our interview continues after the break.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
We're back on Primetime Local News with Zui and Raf Saeed. So let's fast forward to that moment then. You were at that concert hall, able to meet the Queen. Kind of talk us through what that was like.
Well, the security detail had explained to us exactly where we needed to be and how this would happen. They met us when we arrived and led us into the concert, but before that they showed us exactly where we need to be standing and that the Queen and the Prime Minister would be briefed to come to us. I don't remember anything about the concert. It was completely overwhelming to know what was coming next. But it was quite the feeling. It was quite the feeling that in this crowd of people at the Jackson Hall, at the concert hall, that the Queen was coming to meet us. Regardless of how many times I told myself, you know, she's a person, she's a lady, she's a woman.
We told ourselves both, she's just a lady, so let's not get too worried. Anyway,
but
she was
there's
coming.
Still that pressure. Hey?
She was coming down the pathway, and it so happened that she was looking for us, and she was looking across the way where we were standing and looking at her. At which point, the Prime Minister's bodyguard told the Prime Minister, the people she's looking for are right across. So she made a about facer and came straight to us.
Right to you guys.
Right to us. And at that point, I choked. I choked, and then Zooey talked to her first.
Yeah, they had told us that she wouldn't shake hands, but as you can see from the pictures, that's the first thing she did.
Wow.
And she was, Her Majesty
so gracious.
was so gracious, so personal. She said right away, as she shook my hand, she said, it's a pleasure to reacquaint myself with your family.
Wow.
And I didn't think I had any words, but I was probably, you know, quite polite in my response, and said that we were absolutely thrilled too. And we said we'd brought my grandfather's medal with us, and she wanted to look at it, and she looked at it, and she was just, you could see on her face that she was really touched. This was something not just deeply personal with her grandfather, but also very much part of the empire, so to speak.
Yeah.
And regardless of all of the stories we hear about the empire and being a colony of the empire, India has a really rich history with the British. And it was really a moment that I would not forget. I'd followed her closely before, continued to follow her much more after that, but then got really interested in who my grandfather was, because this was obviously something that even she had deep respect for.
And you wanted to dig a little bit into that history.
We did.
Then I took the photograph I had with me, which is
And
displayed
couldn't take
there,
any metal frame, anything.
and I showed her the photograph, and she immediately remembered where it was and the year.
From
and
when
she
she
said,
met your mother.
My mother,
Yeah.
she says Madras in 1961. She remembered.
Wow.
And what a phenomenal memory she had.
Yeah.
And so then we talked about it, and I said, you recall, you remarked that she was the only woman. She said, yes, I do recall that. She was the only woman.
And so when she was meeting you, it wasn't like she was just going through the motions. She genuinely cared about the stories that you had to share with her and the history that you had with her family.
She seemed interested because, as you can see, she was curious and looking at the photograph in one of those photographs, how curious she was looking at the picture. And then she walked away after and then she came back. She walked about 10 steps. And then she made an about face, came back, and said, with a quizzical look, "You live here?"
You both live here?
And we said, yes, we both do. We live in the Deputy Prime Minister's constituency, and it's a great country. We live in Canada, it's a great country. And at that point, Prime Minister Brian Mulroney said, thank you, in his deep, booming voice, because, he needed somebody to boost him. At that time, his political fortunes were low.
Too,
And so after that fact, people were coming to you and asking,
yes,
why
because
did she come back?
Who are you?
We were separated in a area of the reception hall. So as soon as we weren't taken away. So as soon as people saw the Queen approaching us, they came closer. And we actually had been, we asked if we could take two really close friends with us. So we had Henry and Carol Wilson with us. Henry's in the photograph as well. And then others came pressing by. And once the Queen left, who are you? Why did the Queen want to meet you? And we just said we had family connection, because like I've said to you before, we don't usually talk about our personal private
And
lives.
there's a lot of
It's just-
details to get in with this story as well, right?
Yes.
It's a long story. We
yes.
just said we were invited by the Prime Minister's
Yeah,
office.
we
they
did
came.
kept it at
but,
that.
We
But
kept
you know,
it at
they
that.
kept pressing, why did she come back and talk to you again?
Yeah.
Because that's a big deal, right?
It's a big deal.
I mean, that's a big, and that shows how simple she was, that she would go away and then come back and ask the question, you know. I mean, she was a very ordinary, gracious, lovely lady.
Yeah,
was
she
truly,
really was.
truly great.
Yeah.
You know, to be humble is great, and she was truly great.
Now we're running a little short on time, but I do want to ask, now that she's passed, I'll give you guys the opportunity to just reflect on what do you think Queen Elizabeth II's legacy will be?
Her legacy will be one of actually bringing the countries that were under the Empire rule together. Her legacy of starting the Commonwealth, her legacy of being a queen of the people, not for the people, but of the people. Her graciousness, her strength that she didn't publicly proclaim, but you could see that she held it in her. And just that graciousness of melding the British monarchy and being in Canada as queen just became, it was just part of who she was.
Yeah.
There was nothing separate or haughty or separate, nothing. It was just, it was who she was.
She brought the common touch.
Yeah.
She was not imperious. Her legacy will be that she was a simple woman who happened to be queen. And I would say that was what's most appealing to the common person, which is why we're seeing the crowds we're seeing right now.
Yeah, the reaction.
Yeah,
that we're seeing
absolutely.
today.
And I mean, like one of her predecessors who was known as the haughty queen, Our Late Majesty was just absolutely phenomenal in her way of being with people. I also had the opportunity of meeting Princess Anne, and even when you see a picture of Princess Anne, these recent pictures show great emotion on her face. But she too, obviously raised by Her Majesty, was extremely, extremely friendly and gracious. So it's these highlights have sort of been very personal because our families and my grandfather go back so long.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in here today to talk with us and to share your story. I understand you said it before, this isn't something that you do lightly. And on this occasion of Her Late Majesty's passing, I want to say thanks again for sharing these intimate details with us, and I really appreciated this discussion today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ending off with a quick look at your 7-day forecast. We will be seeing another cooler day tomorrow at 12 with a high chance of precipitation, so be prepared. We'll see some sunnier days coming up to end off the week. And then we will be seeing some nice temperatures for the weekend there with 17 Saturday, 19 Sunday. So be prepared. We got a beautiful weekend ahead here. And starting off next week, we will be starting off slightly warmer with that 20 next Monday.
All right, thanks for that, Shelby. Looks like we just have to get past it tomorrow, and then we'll see some sun and some warmer temperatures. That's good to see. That does it for our first hour of Primetime Local News, though. Stay with us. Our second hour continues next.